Stocks coming off a little bit, Russell now down 1%, but we're going to zoom out for a moment and talk about exchange-traded funds, ETFs. Joining me, the pro Cinthia Murphy, investment strategist, TMX Vetify. Great to see you, Cinthia.
Hey, Oliver, glad to be here.
Welcome back to Chicago.
Thank you.
I was
just in time for the cold.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just in your hood in SF for Impact last week. We were talking a good bit of ETFs. I know you met with some folks out there too at the time as you're based there. What did you kind of take away? Like, what are folks hot on going into next year? Because I feel like this year it's been opposites. It was like first it was all about bonds, and it was like crypto and two opposite things.
Well, and the funny thing is too how much it has changed just in the last month since the election, right? So, you know, in October at Vetify we hosted this big event. It was a fixed income symposium, and the message was 2025, the year of bonds. Let's go back to fixed income. Bonds are going to behave like good bonds, and correlations are going to be fixed, and duration is the next play. And boom, the election hit. The whole outlook is different. Now we're worried about reflation. Now we're worried about, longer, higher for longer, fewer cuts.
The bond funds anymore.
Yeah, and so all of a sudden, even, within 3 weeks, the whole fixed income outlook is up on its head. So we're talking back to some of the things we've talked a lot, like crypto, gold, AI, tech, all these things are kind of back in play for 2025.
Equal weight, maybe some of the value stuff too a little bit here. We got the Russell breaking out.
Yeah, it's I think that concern about concentration, I think I've heard the word concentration the most.
Me too.
So there is this effort for diversification, but I think also that effort is like, if you think about AI, for example, which has been so hot and people are so concerned about lofty valuations there, it is the story even within that, which is a very growthy area, is within broadening that theme. So I think across equity segments, across just investment in general, is kind of broadening the opportunity set, and that is looking a little bit outside of that concentrated bucket that everybody is holding right now.
That was a big theme at Impact for sure, and it seemed like everyone was there to kind of pitch their solution to the problem. Mm-hmm. Some say, all right, well, you want to then throw an options overlay on, and then we've had other guests basically saying, well, like more and more options you use, you have to like be aware that you're kind of building other different types of structured portfolios and risks. And there's other folks that just say, all right, well then move down the quote cap spectrum, right? And then there's others that are willing to kind of go more into the realm of the Bitcoin, the crypto stuff. Let's talk about that real quick, because with MicroStrategy now having this financially leveraged like Bitcoin play, is that subtracting at all from the ETFs?
It's really not. I think if you look at just the spot Bitcoin ETFs, which were new in 2024, they consistently have been getting money, and they've gotten a ton of money since the election. Okay. So it's a space that continues to go. MicroStrategy specific, there is some kind of single stock plays, leverage plays, and I mean those funds are on fire, and I mean they're running into capacity limits. So it's a whole new terrain of trying to figure out how you can keep piling up on options and derivatives and things like that on these types of plays, because there's only so much the market can absorb. And an ETF, you can't close for creation. So money keeps coming in. They have to keep putting those positions on. So it's been really interesting to watch.
Yeah, that is a very good point too, because now you've got a lot of products that are kind of tied into each other, that are levered in many ways. I mean, Saylor's firm is financially levered, and then the ETFs that are like 2X and stuff, I mean, those are out there as well, which I imagine are pretty popular too.
Huge, like billions of dollars are going into these funds. And I mean, when you go outside of SPX options, that super deep liquidity may not be there in some of the derivatives markets. So it's, I guess we're learning how far we can push, and then how creative you have to get to keep those exposures alive.
How about the IBIT options? What kind of element does that add on to it?
I think it's just the beginning of the next wave is going to be, everything is going to have an options attached to it. It's just the Wild West of product development.
There is a few other funds that are kind of interesting in this realm. BTGD, Stacked Bitcoin and Gold ETF. I'm looking at your notes. BTCI, the Bitcoin High Income Fund. We had the team from the Cyber Hornet, the ZZZ, which is 75 S&P, 25 a Bitcoin, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so I think as I love product development, I think all the creative products that are coming to market are brilliant. I mean, BTGD just came to market less than a month ago. And it's a 2-for-1. You put for every dollar in the fund, you get $1 exposure to Bitcoin and $1 exposure to
They
gold.
live happily.
And so you have, digital gold and regular gold, and they work they're a complementary theme, but they also work in different ways. So fascinating product.
It's 1-to-1.
1-to-1.
Wow, I hadn't heard of this fund. I'm going to be watching that one. It just launched?
Yeah, it's by a firm called Quantify Funds. Those guys are super smart, and they're doing really, really cool product development there.
Boy, they must have, I wonder what kind of data they've got on the two and the correlation, how they trade, because in some ways, my gut, when I watch markets a lot of time, they are offsetting each other where they're like opposite ends of the same coin.
Exactly, but at the same time, if your concern is inflation and currency debasement, they're the same on the same side of the coin.
They both argue.
So it's kind of, I think, super interesting. BTCI from NEOS is also interesting. It's the high income on creating high income on a Bitcoin exposure. I think it's only a month old. It's already delivered like 2.5% yield. And NEOS has a big lineup of these high-income plays. Their fund SPY has like more than $2 billion in assets. It's delivering 12% yield on S&P 500. So it's like great expertise in that space too. And if you look at the lineup of filings, I mean, 2025 is going to be a big year for clever takes on Bitcoin. Lots of options-based things and combined assets. And I think we're going to see a lot of interesting stuff come to market.
Okay, now that's pretty crypto specific. For tech overall, the Mag 7 trade has become a little bit dispersed, hasn't quite been as powerful basically since the summer. Second half's been kind of a sleepy Mag 7 AI trade. Is that showing up in flows?
It is and it isn't. I mean, I think it's like, I wanted to highlight two funds as an example. So T-Tech from T. Rowe Price and XAIX from X Trackers by DWS. So first one is active, second one is a passive fund. And so one is a technology fund, and AI is one of the biggest themes within this fund. But it also has e-commerce, it has digital payments. So it's like you're really excited about AI, but you want to have a broader type of exposure in the hands of a boots-on-the-ground active manager. These guys are traveling the world, meeting these companies. That's an interesting way to think about accessing it outside of just your Mag 7. I mean, I think in that portfolio you have Coinbase, Netflix, like other kinds of plays.
Sure, HubSpot, DoorDash.
XAIX is a passive fund, but it is AI, big data specific. Like they have revenue screens. They're looking only for the companies creating and developing AI, not even just the adopters. It's phenomenal performance. And the whole premise is the AI creators will lead, the AI adopters will lag. So it really looks on the companies that are pushing the innovation and the disruption. So again, it has MicroStrategy in there, it has Palantir in there.
Wow.
So it's a broader portfolio as well outside of the Mag 7, but it's also very focused on AI. So there's really interesting ways to continue to invest in AI and diversify a little bit the Mag 7 exposure.
Sounds like XAIX definitely got help from MicroStrategy, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Pretty big impact there. All right. You've also, you're tracking the Dr. Doom ETF, Rabini. I'm going to interview him, I think, next week for our Market Overtime, so I have to catch up with him, the USAF. So what should I be asking him about this?
I love any time somebody who has a big following come to the ETF market for the first time. So this is,
we know he doesn't have Bitcoin in here, right?
No, it's the Perma Bear's arrival to ETFs. I think it's cool. I think the fund is really interesting. It's like tips, REITs, gold, commodities. It's your anti-inflation hedge, but at the same time, he pitches it as it's investing in U.S. Renaissance, is investing in growth and infrastructure. So
doesn't sound very doomy.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the assets are very defensive. He's really focused on that kind of alternative to fixed income allocation.
Right. Yeah, they don't like bonds. They think the deficit, debt, all that stuff. Right. This is like the perfect fund. For Rabini followers, for Peter Schiff followers.
Exactly.
For like pretty much everything that crypto and gold people say, but without like crypto in it.
Yeah, and the portfolio, he gets a lot of the exposures. He's the active manager along with two other folks, and he's using ETFs in that portfolio. So he has IAUM in there, GLDM in there, and he's also using direct exposures like a lot of specific REITs and things like that. So it's a really interesting basket.
I see that looking at it now. He does own the 2-year, so he's got a little bit of bond exposure in there, but all short-term stuff.
Right.
So, okay, he's not going to, well, yeah, interesting. All right. Great stuff, Cinthia. Appreciate the insight.
It's good to see you.
Always a good look at the ETFs, what's inside, and a little help for my Rabini interview, too. All right, great stuff. Cinthia Murphy, investment strategist, TMX VettaFi, coming up.